Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another sports stuff video. Today, we are talking about the Washington Commanders and my offseason plan to make them back into NFC contenders. So if you guys do enjoy, please like, comment, subscribe. Let's get into the video. So Washington Commanders, their offseason plan, not any really big coaching changes. Obviously, Cliff Kingsbury did walk away. I don't remember, was he fired or did he walk away? If I remember, they saved the PR and they saved his face, and he just walked away while they fired Joe Witt, the defensive coordinator. I may be wrong. But I do believe Cliff Kingsbury did walk away. I did not want to do a offensive coordinator guess for this team because I do think Dan Quinn, in my opinion, is not a great head coach. So I don't really know the route he's going to go. A lot of rumors that David Blau... Oh, no, they did promote someone, actually. The Commanders did promote someone. That's just came across my mind. Yeah, David Blau. I was going to say, wait a minute. I actually do remember. Yeah, David Blau. They promoted him because he was getting interviews to be an offensive coordinator and head coach elsewhere. They said, no. We're keeping David Blau, former Lions quarterback. So good for David Blau. I could play blanked that they did promote him. I was saying, like, wait a minute. No, I thought I swore that. So David Blau takes over. He's never been an offensive coordinator before. Don't really have any words about it. I don't know. I literally don't know. There's no way of knowing. This is his first time being an offensive coordinator. He's been out of playing for like 3 or 4 years. He's been a coordinator. He's been a positional coach since. So I genuinely don't know what to expect from him. So offseason plan would not include that move. Starting off with the cuts and/or trades, we're sitting at $68 million positive in the cap space, 157 next year and 250 the year after. So my goal for this rebuild is to not do what they did last year and sign only guys over the age of 35. I want to get younger. I want to get better. Now, does that mean I'm getting younger, better, and cheaper? Because you can't have all three of those. You can't get younger, better, and cheaper all at the same time. So right now, my goal is to get younger, better, and to maximize Jaden Daniels' rookie contract. So the first cut we'll be doing is Marshawn Lattimore. Marshawn Lattimore was traded for from the Washington Commanders and has not really been any good since. This last year had 22 tackles, 1 interception, 5 run stops, and 5 pass breakups. He's been god-awful since being traded. I really don't think he's been a good corner in Washington. I get why the Saints moved on from him. I get why the Commanders traded for him. I just think it was a really bad trade. And on top of that, he tore his ACL this year. So it's going to be a full year recovery before we even see what he looks like again. But prior to the ACL tear, it wasn't a good fit. The injury settlement can happen. I do think the team needs to move on. And listen, Marshawn Lattimore is not the same Marshawn Lattimore from 5 years ago. He's not. It's been very rough watching him this last 2 years because I liked Marshawn Lattimore, right? Him against Mike Evans for the 6 years straight was straight cinema, and he just is not. He lost the athletic ability. I don't know if he's being played out of scheme. Maybe he needs to move to his safety. Because I think Marshawn Lattimore could play safety, a la Jalen Ramsey and a la Richard Sherman. So maybe that's a move that can happen instead of getting cut. But I just got to get cheaper. $18.5 million. That's a lot of money to pay a corner that I don't think is worth even $10 million. So I'm going to cut him and save the full 18.5. Next is going to be Nick Allegretti, the backup guard. This year, had a 42 PFF grade, 47 pass blocking, 45 run blocking, 3 penalties, and 1 sack allowed. $6 million for a backup guard. That's overpaid in my opinion, especially for Nick Allegretti, who is 30 years old and has never really been a high-impact starter. He only surpassed 800 snaps twice in his NFL career. You can get much cheaper talent to be a second squad guard guy. Like, you don't need to pay someone $6 million who has never had an exceptional NFL season to be a backup. Team needs to shed money and age now. If I'm going to sign someone for a $6 million deal, I'm going for Elijah Vera Tucker. I'm going for Evan Neal. These 24, 25-year-old guys in New York that are coming off their first contracts, aren't returning to their teams. I'd rather pay them $6 million across 3 years than Nick Allegretti for 1 more year. He's a poor pass blocker. I want to move on, and I'm going to save $6 million doing so. Next could be Will Harris, the safety. This year, 27 tackles, 0 interceptions, 1 forced fumble, and 4 run stops, and 2 pass breakups. He's a backup veteran safety. He can't get on the field due to Percy Butler, Quan Martin, and Jeremy Reeves doing a really good job as a trio safety. So he's at 4th safety, just not gonna get on the field. He's solid in coverage, nothing to scoff at. But the value of $4 million outweighs his play and what the role he plays on the roster. He fractured his fibula, so time has been cut short in Washington. But I do think Will Harris will probably end up somewhere else as that, fringe roster guy who is comes in for certain plays or just a locker room voice. I do see Will Harris landing somewhere else, but it's not going to be here. We have 3 safeties that I really like, and one of them are going to have to take a back seat to the other 2 starters, and Will Harris is the 4th guy in that 3-man room. I'm going to cut him, save $4 million. I'm going to do no restructures. I just want to keep this roster intact. I want to keep my cap space intact. No pushing the can down the line. So re-signings and/or extensions, I've opened up, what is that? Almost $30 million on the dot in cap space. Hallelujah. I am happy with that because there are some very big extensions and very big re-signings that we need to do. First off is Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel's last year had a really great season, 72 receptions, 727 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Again, quietly had a great first season in Washington. Now, was it because of Cliff Kingsbury? Was it because of Jaden Daniels? Who cares? I don't want Deebo Samuel walking out of this locker room. We need him. He's been consistent as a checkdown guy for Jaden Daniels. He's the exact guy his offense needed, with Terry McLaurin be that boundary guy who dealt with injuries this year, with the question marks around other receivers on the team. Deebo Samuel was that consistent slot guy to get first downs for Jaden Daniels. I want to keep continuity where it's successful, so I'm going to give him a 2-year, fully guaranteed $22 million deal to return to the franchise and say, Deebo, redo what you did last year. I do think he could get a bigger deal than $9 million this year. So I think to really get him on board, you guarantee that 2nd year. And if he sucks, whatever, you're going to eat that last year and not really deal with it because you're a team that has so much cap space. You can have a bad contract for a locker room guy. Next, give me Treylon Burks. I want to bring him back for another year. This year, he had 10 receptions, 130 yards, and 1 touchdown. He's a young wide receiver with some upside. I believe he's 24 years old. He can fight for that boundary wide receiver role. Again, didn't really get a lot of playing time in Washington, so now he gets a full offseason, new coaching, a new offensive coordinator, and a full offseason to get chemistry with Jaden Daniels instead of midseason. He's a big body guy, and when the play breaks down, that's a great target to throw to. And he chose Washington over other suitors after getting cut because he saw that wide receiver 2 role for the future was wide open, and I think he's going to make a hard push to stay in Washington to try and secure that bag. So he's a return for a 1-year, $3 million deal, fully guaranteed. And lastly, I'm going to be re-signing Chris Paul, the starting guard, who had a 50 PFF grade, 78 pass blocking, 38 run blocking, 2 penalties, and 2 sacks. He's a really good pass blocker. I don't know why PFF has his run blocking so low. I think he's a solid run blocker, middle of the pack in the league. He's slow to get to the second level, causing lanes to close. But again, with the running backs that they had this year, I think a lot of it is on their running backs. It's not having the vision or burst to really make a big play behind their guards and tackles, which is why Jaden Daniels took such a big step back after Austin Eckler's injury. 7th round pick that's developed into a serviceable guard, and he can retain a solid player for cheap. Again, something that you want to do as a head coach is that even if you didn't draft a guy, and they still developed underneath you, you want to keep those guys around, show the roster that, hey, if you show up for this team, no matter who drafted you, who wanted you in the first place, if you show up for me, I'm going to extend you. And I think Chris Paul has earned at least another year to try and get a bigger contract next year. 1 year, $2.5 million deal. So in free agency, you're at $94 million. That's a lot of money to go out, get younger players, get better players, and try and make a run at the NFC Championship. In free agency, my first signing is going to be Jack Sanborn. This year, 23 tackles, 0 sacks, and 8 run stops. He's been very solid since being a UDFA in Chicago. His rookie season was outstanding, and I'm shocked that both Chicago let him go and that he didn't really get another starting role immediately. He got overshadowed by additions in year 2. He's a good coverage guy with run defending ability, and next to Frankie Louvo, I think he will shine in coverage. I want him in that Bobby Wagner role. This dude could easily have 60 or 70 tackles next year, 2 or 3 sacks, and like 30 run stops. Like, that's how insanely athletic this dude is at linebacker. And I think him and Frankie Louver are the exact match made in heaven. So I'm gonna give him a very cheap 2-year, $8 million deal, $4 million guaranteed. That's 50%. And I'm running to the bank, absolutely ecstatic that we can get a guy like that next to Frankie Louvu for that cheap of a number. Next, I'm going to bring in is Kwity Paye. Kwity Paye had 20 tackles, 4 sacks, 0 forced fumbles, 19 run stops, and 38 pressures. Former first-round pick. He's shown flashes in Indianapolis, but never really put together. There's going to be a lot of big deals this offseason in Indianapolis, whether it's Daniel Jones, Braden Smith, Alec Pierce. I think he's one of the guys that could slip through, and they're like, oh, man, we don't have the money for Kwity Paye. good luck in your next adventure. We'll get the comp pick. He's very athletic. He's definitely a better run defender than pass rusher, but he's grown. You know, he's definitely grown from his rookie season where he couldn't really get to the quarterback. But they drafted an edge rusher last year, and that's kind of their primary focus now. So I think Kwity Paye is just going to get lost in the sauce and end up somewhere else. And the Washington Commanders, needing a very young athletic edge rusher, they're going to grab up Kwity Paye for a 2-year, $17.5 million deal, $10 million guaranteed at 57%. Again, you get a guy, has some upside still. I think he's only 25 or 26 years old, has definitely the best football ahead of him. And I think that Dan Quinn is a type of defensive coordinator and head coach who can really get Kwity Paye the best of his ability. Next, I want to sign is Cam Taylor-Britt. Cam Taylor-Britt had 15 tackles, 0 interceptions, 7 run stops, and 3 pass breakups this last year. He definitely wants out of Cincinnati. For some reason, he's always in the doghouse with Zach Taylor in this defense. No matter if it's Lou Anarumo or a new defensive coordinator, Al Golden, is that his name? He's just always in the doghouse for some reason. I think he wants out of Cincinnati. He wants a fresh scenery, and I think it's kind of a mutual feeling. Mikey Sarenstill and Cam Taylor-Britt would be an interesting duo. And I think he attacks the ball at the point of catch, and he constantly is trying to scoop that ball out of the receiver's hands to cause a pass breakup. So I think it'd be a really good corner opposite of Mikey Sarenstill, and much cheaper and younger than Marshawn Lattimore with a better injury history. So I'm going to give him a 2-year, $13 million deal, $7 million guaranteed at 54%. I think that's a steal. This is a dude who can start for you day one, opposite of Mikey Sarenstill. Is on the timeline with Jaden Daniels and multiple of these defenders. I think it's a great pickup. And I think it's someone that Cam Taylor-Britt can come to Washington, and if he wants to extend with Washington after his first year, I think he can easily have a 2 or 3 interception season, 12 plus run stops, multiple more pass breakups, and just be more on tape, being that dominant corner he was in year 1 and year 2. Next is going to be Kenneth Walker. I want to get a dominant running back for this offense. Kenneth Walker had 1,000 yards this season, 5 touchdowns, 4.6 yards per carry, 282 receiving yards, 33 10-plus yard carries, which was 6th in the NFL, and 61 missed tackles, which was 5th in the NFL. He's a great downhill runner, very explosive, great speed, but when he needs to put his shoulder down and knock some fools over, he's going to. And he's a bell cow guy. That's hard to find in the NFL, especially guys that are in the free agency market, a bell cow running back. And he's explosive. He runs there's explosive runs at any second. Again, he averaged almost 2 10-plus yard runs a game. That's really good. And we see in the playoffs without Zach Charbonnet, he is still a dominant running back. And I think that's going to be the main reason why the Seahawks move on from him. He moves on from the Seahawks, is that he can be a bell cow running back. He can be a top 5 rusher in the NFL, but they keep giving Zach Charbonnet these red zone carries Kenneth Walker will have 5 or 6 carries in a drive. He goes for 45 yards and 6 carries. Then they get to the red zone. They get Zach Charbonnet 4 straight carries, and he steals a touchdown. This who could easily have 12 or 13 touchdowns, add another 400 or 500 yards onto his rushing yard stats. He could be easily a top 5 running back, but he's being held back in Seattle because they want to do that dual threat running back game. No. In Washington, he's a leading guy, and I'm going to give him a 4-year, $37.5 million deal, $22.5 million guaranteed at 60%. We're telling him, hey, this is your offense, right? We have Jacory Krosky-Merritt. He's not a focus for us. You're the focus. You're the dude that we're relying on, and I think Jaden Daniels and Kenneth Walker would be a great option offense, right? Because Jaden Daniels does have his legs, but I think with the threat of Kenneth Walker is going to open up run lanes for Jaden Daniels when he needs to use his legs. So I think it works out for everyone involved. Kenneth Walker can get that premier running back role, kind of like Josh Jacobs. He left the Raiders, went to the Packers. I think Kenneth Walker can, after having a great season with Seattle, can go to the Commanders and have another dominant top 5 season where everyone's saying, wow, they only got him for less than $10 million a year on average. That is a great deal for the Commanders, while Kenneth Walker gets his name out there and hopefully gets more Pro Bowl and All-Pro nods. Next to be Juwan Jennings. I want to get another wide receiver, so I'm going to double dip in the San Francisco 49ers. This year, he had 55 receptions, 643 yards, and 9 touchdowns. He's become a consistent boundary target. I've been saying that Juwan Jennings in the last Super Bowl, if they win that Super Bowl, Juwan Jennings wins Super Bowl MVP. He threw a touchdown, caught a touchdown, and rushed a touchdown. He was elite in that Super Bowl, and he's become elite since. The 49ers might tag him if they can't get an extension done, but that tag is like $25 or $30 million. So I just don't think it's gonna happen. But it's one of those break case of emergency. He'd be a great fit in Washington, and he teams back up with Deebo Samuel. And I think Deebo could be calling Jauan Jennings saying, hey, Jaden Daniels is different, dude. This is the dude that you want to pair up with. He's on the rise. And if we can rebuild our offensive line a little bit more and get more weapons, you're going to feast. And so I'm going to give him a 3-year, $33.5 million deal, $19 million guaranteed at 57% guaranteed. So gets a lot of money up front, right? $12 million signing bonus with 19 million guaranteed in the first 2 years. That's great money for Jauan Jennings. I don't think he's gonna get more than 15 million a year. And if he can come to an offense that doesn't have a starting wide receiver 2, so it's him versus Treylon Burks, and sorry, Treylon Burks, you're not beating Jauan Jennings. So you're gonna have an offense of Jaden Daniels, Kenneth Walker, Terry McLaurin, Jauan Jennings, Deebo Samuel. That's a really good wide receiver and running back with quarterback duo. Now you just need to figure out the offensive line and tight end. Next, I'm going to sign David Onyemata. I want to grab a D tackle for this defense. He had 42 tackles, 1 sack, 28 run stops, and 21 pressures this last year in Atlanta. He's a good run stopper in the middle. I think he's a major upgrade over Eddie Goldman. Deron Payne and Jazon Newton are really good, but let's grab another guy, make this 3-4 defense even better with David Onyemata. The trenches have to be priority, and I want to draft someone and develop them behind David Onyemata, but this is a 1 year. We need to go out and we need to win more games this year. No long-term money, right? Not any of these 2 or 3 year deals for Laramie Tunsil, Marshawn Lattimore, Bobby Wagner for multiple seasons. No, this is a 1 year. You're here to try and help us win this year and develop a guy behind you. 1 year, $11.5 million, fully guarantee it, and really fix this D tackle pairing next to Jazon Newton and Deron Payne. Finally, I'm going to sign the final slide of guys I'm going to sign is Kyle Duggar. Kyle Duggar had 37 tackles, 2 interceptions, 11 run stops, and 2 pass breakups. He's a hard-hitting safety. He's a great blitzer as well. And my idea for Kyle Duggar is to be more that sub linebacker role. So instead of running a 4-3 or a 3-4, you can run a lot more like a 3-2-5 or a 3-2-6, where you have D tackles, blitzing linebackers, and Kyle Duggar is kind of that roaming Mike. I would love that for Kyle Duggar. I think he's a great hitting safety. He attacks the line of scrimmage on blitzes and on stunts. He's another vet guy to a weak secondary as well. As much as I like the safety room, I do think Kyle Duggar would be an upgrade at that starting strong safety position. So I'm going to give a 2-year, $16 million deal, $9 million guaranteed at 56% guaranteed. He comes over to a defensive head coach and a team that really wants to win, and he can carve out a role immediately. Next is some other signings. So I forgot to add Cade Otton. I felt dumb. Cade Otton is going to get a 2-year, $14 million deal, and I'm going to fully guarantee it. I'm going to poach him away from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and this is how you do it, because I think he's going to re-sign in Tampa. But if you are the Washington Commanders, Zach Ertz is not coming back. He's done. Not Dylan Holker. Who's their tight end? The young tight end that they drafted recently. I cannot remember his name. I was very high on him in the draft. He's not a starter yet. Cade Otton comes in, good run blocker, great receiving threat as well. I want to get Cade Otton on a 2-year deal, $14 million guaranteed. I'm going to bring in Noah Igbenogany to be my backup nickel. Benjamin St-Juste returns to Washington. Yes, I know the Washington fans hate that, but again, he's another backup safety, backup corner. Clavon Chason, 1 year, $4 million. I do think he'd probably actually demand more after this playoff run he's had, but I made this before the playoffs, so he's in this as a other signing. 1 year, $4 million at 9 sacks this year. He's gonna get more than that. And then Marcus Mariota returns on a 1 year for $6 million to be the backup. And it's my draft. Sorry, not yet. So entering the draft, you have $44 million in cap space. That is a fantastic number to be at. That is going to roll over in the next season. So you're going to have $120 million in cap space in 2027, and that'd be a great start for this franchise. But what I need to do in the draft is simple. This team does not have a lot of draft picks. So what I decided to do was trade back immediately. So we're sitting at number 7, right? Number 7 is where the Washington Commanders are currently sitting. I think there's a very high chance that Jeremiah Love gets drafted to the Saints. I think it's a very high chance. I think the Chiefs' number 1 need is they either need to draft a D tackle or a running back. That's their number 9. At number 9, that's the biggest need. They need Peter Woods to slip. They're going to draft Caleb Banks, or they're going to draft Jeremiah Love. And if I'm the Commanders, was sitting at draft day, they don't have a running back, I'm trading back with the Kansas City Chiefs, and I'm getting more draft capital. So I'm slipping back from number 7 and number 9, and for those two draft slots, I'm getting 2 third-round picks, one at number 74 and one next year. And at number 9, I'm grabbing Cassius Howell. So Cassius Howell, you're gonna nab the edge number 3 in this class after David Bailey and Ruben Bain. I guess Arvell Reese as well, but pure edge, defensive ends. You're grabbing the third edge on my board. He has a foundation to build a really good pass rusher on. He's a redshirt senior, so he's an older prospect who can probably step in and start for you day one with how weak your edge room is. He averaged 25 pressures a year the last 3 years. That's a great number. 3 batted balls each of the last 2 seasons. Very, active hands in the passing lanes and in special teams. He does everything you want edge to do. Great again to the quarterback. Again, he's an older prospect, so you don't need to, like what you see is what you get. And I think what you see is a very good edge rusher on a team that Dan Quinn desperately needs his premier edge rusher. Then at number 74, I'm going to grab Skylar Bell from UConn, the wide receiver. He's a great outside wide receiver threat. He's 6 foot, 185. He has that wide receiver 2 mold. He had a lot of offers last year to go to bigger schools, but he decided to stay at UConn, so that showed loyalty. And I think that's something that the Washington Commanders desperately need, is someone who's loyal to like who they go to. Terry McLaurin's been very loyal. I think Skylar Bell will be the exact same type of guy, long-term loyalty. He plays similar to Debo, so he's more athletic and fast. He has good hands, and I think no matter where he goes in the 3rd round, it's going to be a draft steal. We're going to be saying, how did this dude not go in like the beginning of the 2nd round? So if you can get him at 74, you run that draft slip in, you get yourself a wide receiver that for the next 5 to 7 years, you can rely on to be your wide receiver too. Then another trade back. Again, I want to get as much draft capital as possible. So we're sitting at number 71. Skylar Bell's right there, and you're like, you know what? We think we can trade back a couple of spots and still pick up Skylar Bell. So we're gonna trade number 71 and our 7th round pick for our future 7th round pick to the New Orleans Saints for a number 132. So you're subbing back 60 picks. For 148, you pick that up because you're subbing back 60 picks, and then you swap 7th rounders next year. So I think it's a pretty even deal. I think the Saints, again, I forgot who was on the board. It might have been an edge rusher. And so I'm like, okay, that makes sense for them to move up. We have Cassius Howell. We have, who was it? We have Clavon Chasen. We have Kwity Paye. So it made sense that we're like, you know what? We don't need another edge rusher. Let's slip back and get some extra draft capital, because I think they only have 4 draft picks this year. So it's very monumental to try and get as much draft capital as possible. Then at 132, I'm going to grab Jamari Taylor to be another running back for this room. Jamari Taylor, 1,000-yard rusher, 14 touchdowns in each of the last 2 seasons. That's someone that I want on my team from Virginia. He can be a very valuable piece with Kenneth Walker. He had 750 yards after contact this last year. He has great balance after hits, and I think he can get real minutes year 1. I think you can definitely see a Kenneth Walker 90% of the carries, and 5% the Ja'Cory McCroskey-Merritt, and 5% the Jamari Taylor. But I really do think Jamari Taylor can be a really good running back in the NFL, and whoever gets him is going to get a stud in the 4th or 5th round. Then at 145, I'm going to grab Pat Coogan, the center from Indiana. Again, he anchored the interior offensive line for the national champs this year. You can see him, and I do see him ending up in Vegas with Fernando Mendoza, because they need a center long term. And I think it makes a lot of sense to just pair up your number 1 quarterback who you drafted number 1 and his college center. Sorry, I'm hiccuping. He's 6'5", 311. He has experience at guard in his college career as well. But for me, I want him to back up Tyler Biadasz, and if he can develop, he can take over next season. But at worst, you have a dude for the next 4 years who can be a backup center. But at best, you can move on from Tyler Biadasz, save that money next year, and start Pat Coogan. Then at 148, grabbing Harold Perkins Jr., the linebacker from LSU. Brian Kelly killed any hype for Harold Perkins. He really was going to be eventually a 1st or 2nd round pick, and then just Brian Kelly shot him in the kneecaps for whatever reason. Former 1st round projection, never got to those heights. He was injured in 2024, and I don't think he was 100% in 2025 either. But I want to take a chance on a young guy with solid coverage and solid blitzing upside in day 3. And listen, day 3, that's when you throw darts at a dartboard. And Harold Perkins, again, highly recruited out of high school, highly recruited his first 2 years in college, and it's the last 3 has been bad after bad after bad. So I want to get a shot at him in the 5th round. And if Dan Quinn could turn that career around, that would be awesome for a 5th round pick. Then at 186, I'm going to grab Josh Moten, the corner out of Southern Miss. He attacks the ball midair to his deficit. He's 6 foot, 185. The reason I say it's to his deficit, because he has 10 interceptions the last 2 years. but also 8 touchdowns. He's let up 8 touchdowns and a lot of yards. And on a very bad team. So I think maybe actually move Josh Moten to safety, and I think he can develop a little bit better as a safety, because then he's way more deep coverage ball ability than he is one-on-one man coverage. He can be more that support safety, and I think that actually work a lot for Josh Moten and his career, because I just don't think he has the ability and the discipline to be a corner in the NFL. But if you can move him to free safety and like, hey, you're gonna be the cap with with your elite speed, elite ranginess, and your eye for the ball. Like, be that guy who jumps routes and picks balls, but be as a free safety. You're not fast enough and you're not smart enough to be a corner. So I think Josh Moten at free safety or strong safety makes a little bit more sense. Then at 223, I'm gonna grab Riley Melman from Wisconsin. He's a swing tackle. Again, it's a 7th round pick. It's a shot in the dark. He has experience at both left tackle and right tackle. He's 6'8", 318. You can't teach size, but you can teach technique, and you can teach skill. I don't think he's a left tackle. He was much better as a right tackle in college, but again, he has experience on both sides, so you can have him as that swing tackle on either side of the line. So that saves you one roster spot in the offensive line for the future. And moving into the depth chart after the drafts, this is what it looks like. So obviously, quarterback, you have Jaden Daniels and Marcus Mariota. Tight end is K-Dot and Ben Sinnott. And I believe there's another tight end. I can't remember his name as well. But Ben Sinnott is who I was thinking of from last year. They have a third tight end I forgot to add onto this board. I screenshotted it, and then I saw that there's another tight end. But running backs, you have Kenneth Walker, Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt, and Jamari Taylor. That's a pretty solid running back room. Again, Kenneth Walker's your bell cow. Ja'Cory Crosky and Jamari are the two guys that kind of clean up when he's tired or, situational football. Then at wide receiver, you have Terry McLaurin, Juwan Jennings, and Deebo Samuel as your starters, with Skylar Bell, Traylon Burks, Jalen Lane, and Luke McCaffrey playing those roles around the wide receiver room. And I do think there's a chance that you could see Skylar Bell creep up into a starting role. You can see Juwan Jennings become more that situational wide receiver with his big body. But at worst, that's your 7-man wide receiver room. For the offensive line, you have Laremy Tunsil, Chris Paul, Tyler Biadasz, Sam Cosmi, Josh Connerly. So no change at the starters for next year, but the backups I do think get better, with Pat Coogan and Riley Melman coming in, with Brandon Coleman and Julian Good-Jones already there. Then on the defensive side of the ball, you have Deron Payne, Jazon Newton, Javon Kinlaw, and David Onyemata. That is a very strong D-tackle room. And on the edge, Cassius Howell, Dorrance Armstrong, Clavon Chasen, and Kwity Paye. That's a really good edge room as well. I think that's a massive improvement on the defensive line from last year, where you had Von Miller as a starting defensive end. Now you have Cassius Howell and Kwity Paye as your starters, with Clavon Chasen and Dorrance Armstrong being high-end role players. Then at linebacker, Frankie Luvu and Jack Sanborn. I love that linebacker pairing, with Jordan McGee and Harold Perkins as the backups. Then at corner, Mikey Sarenstill, Trey Amos, and Noah Igbenogany. Oh, sorry, it's Mikey Sarenstill, Cam Taylor-Britt, and Noah Igbenogany, with Josh Moen and Trey Amos as the backups. Benjamin St-Juste would be the backup nickel, but for some reason, my depth chart website is not letting me touch the nickelback position. So imagine Benjamin St-Juste at nickel. Then at safety, you have Quan Martin and Kyle Duggar, with Jeremy Reeves and Percy Butler. I think it's a really good roster. I think this is definitely a roster that is better than last year. I think it improved at the defensive line where they needed it most. I think it improves at running back. It improves at wide receiver. And I think this alleviates a lot of pressure off Jaden Daniels, his shoulders. And you upgrade the backup in the backups in a lot of positions, right? Better edges and better depth at edge. Better corners and better depth at corners. Better safety play with Kyle Duggar. You add 2 linebackers to this linebacker room. Again, the edge room is completely overhauled. So I think it's a great change for the Washington Commanders, and could definitely lead to a better outcome of their season for 2026. So if you guys enjoyed, please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of my offseason plan. What would you change? What would you add? Give me a grade in the comments. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow for the next offseason plan. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you later. Peace and bye.